The next edition of the Rated R Sportscast. We are not live. We're live recording, but we are doing the recording right now. I'm Rudy Campos Jr., the Rated R Sports Star, joined alongside the Rambassador, my co-host, Mr. Giovanni. Gio, how are you doing?
Listen, I'm doing great. The
I
Duke
am
Blue Devils won, and I'm doing
barely.
fantastic.
Duke barely won.
Well, Rudy, a win is a win in my book. There's no,
Yes.
when you look at the win for Duke, it doesn't say barely win or almost won. It just says W. That's all it says next to Duke. W.
I get that. They were a putback layup away from being eliminated. So that's how close they were to being eliminated. And still, my championship bracket is still really good, as I have the Puke Blue Devils going up against the Tar Heels in the championship game. Of course, I have the Tar Heels winning. So we'll get into that here in a little bit. And also, we're going to talk about a little bit something that came up, ball throw. We're going to probably get into ball throw and ass hair talk. I don't know. Our main producer, Joe Garcia, brought that up. So we're going to get into that towards the end of the show here. But first off, yeah, we are in March. This is March Madness. We've had a great week one of college basketball, actually. There, I want to say there was probably not. Can you really say there was an upset this past weekend?
No, I mean, those, some of the matchups that are 5-12 and, those to me aren't really upsets anymore because, Rudy, I think the talent from some of these smaller schools have really increased throughout probably the 10, 15 years. So a quote unquote upset to me, I think would be like a 15 over a 2 or like a 16 over a 1, which we haven't seen switch from a 16 to 1. So I would say a clear cut upset. There were some games that went down to the wire, but overall, I thought it was a pretty good weekend, and we had some very, very close calls.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, the closest one, like we mentioned earlier, was the number one seed Duke Blue Devils, almost giving up the victory there for UCF. 77-76 was the final on that one. But looking at week one, the first week of college basketball, March Madness was not bad at all. It was good. You had all the number one seeds advancing. That's usually the case of what happens. Number two seeds all still intact. Houston, I'm going to be honest, man. Houston is the team that I like the most in this tournament right now. After week one, they've looked pretty dominant. Now they've looked dominant throughout the year, but nobody's really heard of them or seen anything from them. But after week one, I like them. I do like Texas Tech as well. Texas Tech with Culver playing really well. He's been good all year. They've made some noise throughout the year, so those are kind of like my sleeper teams. I think Houston, if anyone has a chance at upsetting North Carolina, it's Houston. I think Houston gets past Kentucky this weekend. They will play the Tar Heels, and I think the champion is going to come out of that bracket. Are there any teams that have surprised you in week one going in that's not like a number one or two?
Well, I think for one team, I think in the SEC, the Auburn Tigers, they did win the SEC championship, but to me, I thought they played very, very well. There are some really good teams. I actually love Houston as well, Rudy. That team, to me, just watching them over the past weekend, I thought was very talented. Texas Tech as well. Watch out for the Florida Gators. I think that's another team from the SEC to watch out for. But these teams are pretty evenly matched, and I won't be surprised if a number one team goes down this weekend because I just think the talent this year is pretty close. And of course, the number one seeds like Gonzaga and stuff like that are probably going to move on. But I really like Auburn. That's probably my number one favorite team.
Okay, and I agree with you because I think a number one will fall this weekend. I have Virginia on upset alert against Oregon. Oregon's a 12 seed, but they don't play like a 12 seed. Oregon is a very, very, very good team.
Virginia almost lost last. I mean, that first half was pretty close.
Yeah, they almost had the same scare against Gardner-Webb in that first round. But, even against Oklahoma, they didn't look really good. I do like Oregon. If there's going to be a number one seed that's going to get upset this weekend, give me Virginia losing to Oregon. I love that pick. Then I would say if that happens, you're looking at Oregon, Tennessee. That's almost a toss-up. Tennessee with Admiral, I can't remember his last name, but his first name's Admiral. They're, you got the name?
No. I was saying, I don't remember his last name.
Yeah, but Tennessee's got some shooters, and they've been number one this season too. Rick Barnes is doing a fantastic job for Tennessee, but that would be a good matchup. Oregon versus Tennessee. That's almost a toss-up. If that happens, I would probably take Tennessee just because of the experience and because they've been playing good all season. But if you've got a number one on upset alert, would it be Virginia or do you have somebody else looking in? Because you also remember Florida State has been playing awesome this year too. They're going up against Gonzaga. So I think those are the only two number ones that I could see possibly losing.
Well, I mean, Auburn against UNC. That's a real interesting game. I think UNC will win that game, but I think Auburn can give them everything they can handle.
Mm-hmm.
But out of all the number one teams, I agree. I think Virginia is definitely an upset alert. Florida State, they played Duke okay in the NCAA championship, but they've been playing pretty well lately. So I'm going to go with Virginia 1, Gonzaga 2, and Duke number 3 because Duke's playing a team in Virginia Tech that is around. So, you can throw the records out of the book here. These two teams match up. It's going to be very close. I'll give third to Duke, and then North Carolina to me. I think they're probably going to beat Auburn, but I really, really love this Auburn team.
Yeah, and looking at the Duke Virginia Tech matchup again, two ACC teams, they've seen each other before. It's always a hard fought matchup between those two teams. I don't think you can ask for a much better round, or not round two, but a much better second weekend of college basketball, the Sweet 16. You've got a lot of dominant teams out there.
Don't forget Houston versus Kentucky. That could be a really, really good game.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be probably, honestly, man, I'm going to say that's going to be probably my game of the week, looking out of everything. Houston and Kentucky is going to probably be my game of the week. I think my yawn fest, my bore of the week, I'm going to say it's going to be Purdue and Tennessee, only because I still don't buy in on Purdue. I think Tennessee is going to blow them out. I mean, it's possible, I think, but you got LSU, MSU, Michigan State. Of course, Tom Izzo going Bob Knight on his one of his players. So that's another one that I think that might be a yawn fest, but I think the Purdue Tennessee game is going to be a bore. So yeah, we've got a great weekend of college basketball coming up. You'll get to see Zion. Hopefully, he won't turn an ankle like he did in the first game or the second game or sometime during the tournament. I know he did something like that, but. Speaking of moving on from college basketball, there's been a lot of happenings. We've got a quick NFL takes here. I'm going to go run through them. Just give me a little bit of your opinion on what you feel on each move. First off, because we haven't talked about it, OBJ being traded to the Browns. I think that's going to make Baker Mayfield that much better. He's got Jarvis Landry on one side, OBJ on one side. After 8 games, he gets Kareem Hunt back. He also has Nick Chubb in the backfield. Do you think the Browns make the playoffs this year with that kind of move?
I think so. I think the Browns are poised for a playoff run. I think the Steelers took a step back. The Ravens, to me, I'm not quite sure on them just yet. The Cincinnati Bengals, I don't really count them at all. So I think the Browns, they have the most talent in that division. Can they overtake the Steelers? I think they do. Defensively, Greg Williams did leave as the defensive coordinator, but I think they have enough talent on defense to get them over the hump and potentially could be a team that could win 10 games this year.
Yeah, I totally agree. on that. Antonio Brown heading over to Raider Nation. Does this make this team better or worse? I'm going to give you a 2 cents take on this. I think this makes them okay, depending on how they do in the draft, I think this makes them worse, in my opinion. It doesn't make them any better whatsoever.
Well, Rudy, I think offensively they needed to improve, and I think they did with Antonio Brown. They do have a lot of draft picks, Rudy. So we have to wait and see what they do with this draft pick. Do I think they're a playoff team? I don't believe in David Carr. I know he was playing great a few years ago before he had that big injury, but the Raiders, to me, that defense is atrocious. Offensive line needs to improve as well. They have some pieces, but for them to take it over the next hump, can they overtake the Chargers? Can they overtake the Chiefs? I just don't think they're going to have enough.
Yeah, I don't see the Raiders making the playoffs this year. And Taylor Brown's a really good player, and they do have a lot of draft picks. The thing is can they draft the right players on the right positions to improve their team? I see Derek Carr making kind of maybe baby steps towards the right direction. I don't think John Gruden has enough confidence in Derek Carr. So I'm expecting, because they've already signed 3 other quarterbacks to back up Derek Carr. It's
Well, also,
kind of doesn't make any
Rudy,
sense.
John Gruden is he likes to scream. And Antonio
Yeah,
Brown is not about that business. And we saw with
yeah,
John Gruden with Keyshawn Johnson in Tampa and how that ended. So I'm
yeah.
interested to see when it's week 8 and the Raiders are not in a good playoff position, what's going to be the dynamic there? Will John Gruden explode on this football team? But it helps them right now. They're going to be moving to Las Vegas, as we know. So, to have some type of excitement going in. But I don't think they're a
Mhm.
playoff team. They're going to be probably the third or fourth team in that division.
Yeah, and we've also got a couple more tidbits for here on the NFL. We'll get into the rule changes here in a second. Last but not least, Le'Veon Bell going to the Jets. I think this is the best move. I think it's probably 1B to Cleveland's 1A on the trading block, with the Jets getting Le'Veon Bell to go along with Sam Darnold. That is going to improve Darnold tremendously. I love Darnold's game this year. I think he's going to be, fantasy wise, it doesn't, to me, I don't think it puts him in the top 10 just yet, but he's going to be on the edge of that top 10 fantasy list of quarterbacks coming out. I think this move with Le'Veon Bell helps the Jets a lot. I think that they will probably finish second in that division. I think the Patriots still win that division, but they are going to improve at least by, I would say, 2 to 3 games because of Le'Veon. Also, remember the Jets do have number one pick as well, so it just depends on how they draft you as well. A lot of these questions are going to be able to be easily answered after the draft. But what do you think about the Le'Veon Bell move? Is that good, bad for the Jets? How do you feel?
I think it's a good move. Obviously, their running game last year wasn't great. Their offensive line did struggle at times. I think offensively, I think Darnold would take that next step. I think they do need some help at receiver as well. I think defensively, certain areas they can improve. I think Le'Veon Bell will be great. Will he change life in New York? I'm not sure just yet. We have to wait and see with him. Remember, he's been out for a full season. So will he come back the same Le'Veon Bell? Because if it's not, then it could be a more of a bigger problem towards the end of the season. But I think right now, I think it's a great move for them. And I have to wait and see. I can't give too much just because I don't know what to expect from Le'Veon Bell. We think we know what we're going to expect, but sometimes in football, Rudy, as you know, things don't
Mm-hmm.
always plan out.
Yeah, that's very, very true. So, last but not least, we've had the sub retirement, because I'm not too sure if he's really retired yet. We have Gronk retiring. Actually, was it yesterday or 2 days ago
Yeah.
that he retired? So, um, I guess the only thing I can ask on Gronk, he's got the Super Bowl titles, but do you consider him the greatest of all time? For me, it's an absolute no.
Well, to me, Rudy, I think he's the best tight end of all time. He is going to be a future Hall of Famer.
Wow, that's a pretty
His
big bold
playoff
move.
numbers, Rudy, are pretty out of extraordinary. If you compare him to Shannon Sharp, who's in the Hall of Fame, just playoff numbers, he has a lot more touchdowns. I believe it's 18-4 for Shannon Sharp. He has better numbers. Rudy, I completely understand it in this standpoint. He didn't have a long career like a Jason Witten, like a Tony Gonzalez. But when he's on the field, especially, in his prime, he was literally unstoppable. And to
Mhm.
me, statistically, with him even being hurt so much, his numbers are still fairly good. And some of the other tight ends that are in the Hall of Fame, Rudy, are, he has a little bit better in certain areas. He doesn't have longevity, but I see him as a Hall of Famer, and I
Well, yeah,
think
he's a
he's
Hall of Famer. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. I'm not. I will never debate the fact that he's not a Hall of Famer. He will be a Hall of Famer. As far as him being the GOAT, greatest of all time, that's kind of hard to. That's kind of
well.
hard to really give him that kind of title.
Who would
I
you
mean,
put real quick
uh,
higher than him?
and and not because he was a Falcon, but Tony Gonzalez. I mean, to me, that is the greatest tight end of all time. And not being sexual, just being, truthfully, because that's position. He might, I mean, he does have a pretty good tight end. I've seen it before while he's playing the games. I haven't seen a bear one though, but
Wow.
he is at that position. He's the greatest of all time. I mean,
I
I
just think that Gronk was a little bit more
okay,
dominant at his
Gonzalez did
position.
more with less on the quarterback side.
Oh, no, no, listen, I completely agree with you. He did have some okay quarterbacks. I think he had Trent Green for a while. He also had
You're
Eldris
giving me
Gerback.
Trent Green. Wow.
Eldris
Wow.
Gerback.
You're giving me Gerback. Okay. Can we continue to name guys that can't even hold up Tom Brady's jockstrap? I
Well,
mean,
listen, I completely agree. Gonzalez did more or more with less, but I just think Gronk and kind of the evolution of kind of the passing game, and yeah, Gronk probably played more in a pass-happy league, but I mean, listen, if you go with Tony Gonzalez, hey, I'm not gonna fight you on that because Tony is an all-time great as well. In my opinion, I just think Gronk was more dominant, and obviously in the playoffs, obviously he had Tom Brady, so that did help as well. So
oh yeah, because we're talking about Gonzalez. Probably his best quarterback was sadly Matt Ryan. You know, when it came to prime, that's probably his best quarterback. And Matt Ryan, that's not saying much. The guy sucks. I mean, he's a horrible quarterback.
Rudy, come. He went to a Super Bowl, Rudy. He's won an MVP. He can't suck.
Yeah, he sucks. He blows
Uh,
balls. I don't like Matt Ryan. I I I am at the point where I really do despise Matt Ryan. I was so happy when the Falcons drafted him. Now
wait, is it because he took that shirtless picture?
no, it has nothing to do with that. And that has nothing to do with me framing that picture on my wall. I mean, it's still there. But uh the uh the uh the thing with Gonzalez, you know, I consider him that. We can always debate that later. We've got a couple of minutes left, so I want to get into some quick takes. What do you think about the new what actually out of all the NFL rule changes coming up for this season, which one is your favorite and which one do you not like?
Well, the pass interference. You know, I understand that Rams play and how all the Saints fans feel jaded and all that stuff. I get it. I am interested to see how this pass interference comes into effect because it's going to be a point in the season where it probably changes a complexity of a game. So I'm interested to see that. But Rudy, I was not able to take a look at all the NFL rule changes. Do you happen to have maybe a few of them?
Yeah, I've got the let's see, permanent kickoff rule changes that were implemented during the 2018 season. Basically, those rule changes they made for the kickoffs, those are going to stay and they're permanent now. The blindside block. So it redefines a blindside block as it is a foul if a player initiates a block in which he is moving toward or parallel to his own end line and makes forcible contact to his opponent with his helmet, forearm, or shoulder. So it says it also points out that a player may initiate forcible contact inside the tackle box, but is subject to the crackback and peel back block restrictions.
Yeah, you know that quick story on that. I was in football practice many years ago, and I was actually on kickoff, and no, actually kickoff return. I'm running back, and Rudy, as soon as I see someone, they blindside the shit out of me. My helmet comes out, and I saw stars. So I could definitely see a rule change here for it to be a little bit more technical, just because of how dangerous it is. But to me, I think the biggest one of all is that pass interference. I think Rudy, this might open the door for Pandora's box. And defensively, Rudy, I mean, as a defensive player, what else more can you do now, Rudy? Because now they can
Yeah, if you touch
challenge.
them.
I mean, the
Yeah.
defense can't do shit now. They can't do anything without being penalized, without being scrutinized. So they're opening up the door for Pandora's box. Next year, what we're going to get? Defensive holding, and then what we're going to get the following year. I mean, there's so much stuff. Football is an imperfect game. I like the rule changes to kind of see what happens, but uh, unfortunately, it is what it is. And it would be funny if the Rams beat the Saints next year on a reverse call.
Wow, I think you just pissed off Brenda Gonzalez a little bit more
Yeah, you
there,
know,
but
all the Saints fans on Twitter were singing "Kumbaya," and I tended to hold my tongue on that.
oh, I know. Mela Pela, right? Basically for the Saints. Hey, but you know, we also had something in the NBA that happened. It's not even really NBA news right now. The NBA is getting ready for the playoffs. You've got Lonzo Ball leaving Big Ball Brand. Is that what it is? BBB. Is that what it is? Big Ball Brand.
Yeah, it's Big Black Cock Land or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. You had mentioned that to me earlier, so I want to know why is this a huge thing for you, or is it a huge thing for you that Lonzo Ball's leaving his own brand? because I think they sold like what, one pair of shoes or something.
Well, apparently, in the beginning, people weren't getting their shoes, and
Yeah.
actually, Rudy, at the Better Business Bureau, they received an F last year. So that to me is kind of a strange situation there. But Lonzo Ball reportedly had about $1.2 million basically disappear. And there's
Wow.
a family friend that was kind of in charge of that. And Lonzo ended up blaming him. I completely forgot his name off the top of my head.
Mhm.
But basically, this guy had a lot of other charges against him a few years ago. He
Mhm.
had some stuff happen. So why on God's green earth, Rudy, if somebody has has a bad history with money, got basically caught stealing money, would you put him in
Mhm.
charge of money?
I
So now
have
Lonzo
no
distances
idea.
himself from the big baller brand, and now to me it's starting to see the demise of the whole big baller brand. First of all, their shoes were way too expensive. I mean, what was it, like $500 a pair or some
Yeah,
shit like that?
it was stupid. It was
And
stupid.
so I like to see that Lonzo Ball is leaving from the brand. He's kind of becoming his own man,
Yeah.
and is just kind of hopefully. I guess we're gonna wait and see what happens during the summer because he could be traded. But it was good to see him leave and kind of become his own self. But unfortunately,
Well,
it's come to the expense of him not knowing where $1.2 million is.
yeah.
I would be
You know,
pissed.
it's funny that you talk about Lonzo Ball because the very last thing we're going to talk about on this quick version, this quick hit episode of the Radar Sportscast is ball fro. Now, it went from ass hair to ball fro before the program, and it's weird because we had no intentions of derailing this whole show because we wanted to keep it nice and tight, quick as possible because we've got other stuff going on right now. But yeah, we went from our main man producer, the man behind the glass, Mr. Joe Garcia, talking about ass hair with Gio having ass hair. Then all of a sudden, ball fro came out. So, is it? I need to know. I say I need to know because I really do. I'm curious now.
Oh,
You admitted before the show that you have a ball fro. Is it like? Is it like a little tiny ball fro, or do you have like? Are you freaking having what was it, buckwheat in a head, in a leg lock or something? I mean, is it
well,
really
I
out
mean,
there?
I
You have to
think
pick with
buckwheat
it.
can be a little over exaggeration. I think
Not
more
really,
of
man.
a
Not
of
really,
a
because there's guys out there that they've
well,
got a
no, I'm
fucking
just saying
fork
for
or
me,
some
Rudy. I
shit.
don't know about what you have, and I definitely don't know
No.
what the hell Joe has. But um, you know, it's very, it it's not all over the place. It's firm, it's steady, and it gets the job done. So
So on now let's go ahead and turn you over. Let's turn you over on the massage table, and we're gonna have you bare ass up. Is it like little Eeyore, little piglet tails on your ass hair or something, or is it?
yeah, so it's basically Eeyore. I don't have any like fucking mountain lion hair. That's what you really want to
Yeah, you don't have
picturize over there,
so you don't
Rudy.
have a
Because
mane, right? Like a lion's mane in your butt
no,
hair, on your
no,
butt
no,
ass or something.
it's very light. Like I told you before the show, Rudy. I have hairy legs, but my body's not necessarily extremely hairy.
All right.
So,
So
I'm more of a medium.
all right.
So,
So this is how we're gonna end this show here.
wait. But how about you answer the same question, Rudy? If you
I
want
will.
to,
Okay, on my ass, I don't have hardly any hair. And I've got hair, but I don't have a lot of hair. I have like almost nothing on my ass. I'll be more than happy to take a picture of my bare ass. I'm not afraid of any of that shit.
no, I think I would
Now,
agree
on
not.
my other side, on my dick side, considering the little boys very he was little. I have a small weenie. I don't have much to work with down there, but when I take a piss, I have to get the tweezers out. But as far as
Oh
the hair
shit, Rudy,
goes,
damn.
um, it's not bad. It's not big old ball fro. It's not even like a huge fro. It it's kind of something like like I got chest hair, and obviously my panza has hair too. It's kind of like a nice little runway all the way down. It's not any
Oh
huge
Lord, unfortunately, I
amount
just
of
pictured
hair.
it.
I know you did. I mean, it's something that when I get out of the shower, I can comb it like comb over like Christopher Reeve or something, and it'll look good for the rest of the day. So I don't have any outrageous thing, but not that's my description of mine. And before we go, you made that challenge that if the Spurs play the Nuggets in the first round and the Spurs win, I've got to go out in yoga pants. Well, Mr. Gio, if the Spurs do not win, then I have something for you, sir. You need to put on a not very, very small, not Speedo-ish, but you need to get a nice little pair of shorts, no t-shirt, and you need to take a picture, sir. And you need to show everybody this Sasquatch of a body that you have with all this hair everywhere.
Rudy, you're a very, very twisted, sick individual.
I'm twisted and sick. You're having me walk in 100-degree weather downtown where my yoga pants is there, and it's gonna be hot as fuck, dude. I'm literally gonna be a sponge walking in Market Square. You have no idea. So now this is only if they play the Nuggets. If it's any other team,
as of right now, they're playing the Golden State Warriors.
As of right now, they're playing the Warriors. But hey, the Warriors could lose that number 1 seed, and Denver could jump in. So I needed something to play for. I needed my Denver McNuggets to play for something, and that is, shaming Gio with a small. And I don't even know if you want to go Daisy Dukes, go Daisy Dukes. I don't really care. I mean, that'll show a little bit of your butt hair, but you do what you want.
Well,
we
listen,
just want the Sasquatch photo.
I did play football for a while, so my buttocks hair is actually very firm and very compact. So I'm sure somebody wouldn't mind looking at it. But
you're lucky, because I was going to tell you to have your girl to braid your chest hair. So yeah, we've got the final bet going into the playoffs of the NBA season with the Spurs, and hopefully if they play the Nuggets, then we would have something to play for. But baseball season does start tomorrow. I'm excited for that. Go Giants! Even though you're not going to win very many games, you're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I still support you because I love the Giants.
I still think the White Sox are probably going to be worse, but
no, I think the Giants will still be bad. But if you want to go the White Sox being worse, I will try to get Austin in here for some baseball. We're trying to see. I've texted him. We're trying to see if he's going to do his 4-minute national anthem for tomorrow. If it is, it will be on the Rated R Sports page on Facebook. But as of right now, this is the end of the show. Gio, where can they reach you at, sir?
You can find me over at Coach Gio 56 on Twitter. You can also find me on the Rated R Sportscast, Two Shots Podcast Network, and that's all you can find me at. No porn sites, okay?
Yeah, I think I was going to say you could probably Google Gio's name and it'll come up on Pornhub or something under gay porn. That what Joe said, gay porn. Yeah, you can hit us up on the Facebook page. It's Rated R Sportscast. Twitter is at rated_R podcast. We are on Anchor. We are across 9-10 platforms, all the major ones for sure. We are a part of the Two Shots Network that is run by our boss, Joe Garcia. There's a lot of other podcasts on there, and you're going to see a lot of changes coming up pretty soon here, probably within the summer, if not a little after. Everything's going to be done for the people, for you guys. We're going to make it a bigger network than what it is. Also, we have the SA Command Zone podcast, and myself, Joe Macodeleon, and Steven Harrison, both guys are from Project Spurs. For this edition of the Radar Sportscast, we talked March Madness. We talked everything. We've talked ball throw, ass hair, and I'm excited for the next episode because I have something that I do want to talk about with Gio. So till then, we will see y'all next time. This is Rudy Campos Jr., the Radar Sports Star, signing off. Peace, guys.